I'm a media relations specialist for Nebraska Public Power District, and one of my projects I work on is renewable energy, particularly with the wind programs that we're operating.
And we had the pleasure of meeting up at Ainsworth a few months ago on a tour up there, and you were there for that, and also met at a planning commission meeting a little bit later on. So I know you're on the go. You're in a lot of different places because there's a lot of interest in wind energy, a lot of excitement about it. I do want to note, when we were up at Ainsworth, I thought it was presented in a very, very commonsensical fashion from up there, because there's some myths and some excitements that maybe get people a little over the top on wind, and we all need to kind of get down to a reality on this. How's it going, do you think?
I think right now we're progressing very cautiously. We're not in a big rush to put things up. We don't have to put a wind turbine farm up everywhere in the state right now. What we do have in place is meeting a 10% goal of our energy mix to come from renewable energy, but we're going to meet that by 2020. 10% will mean we would have about 530 megawatts coming from renewable energies, again particularly wind. And right now we're right about 72 megawatts, so we're going to add about 80 megawatts every other year through 2020.
All right.
Yeah, and that number was even higher than what I thought. It's 530 megawatts?
Yes, 530 megawatts.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the devil in the details part of it. I was visiting with Mike Lucas yesterday, and we were talking about wind power and a subject we need to talk about.
Wind.
Well, we talked about it a long time, so we both were, very windy about it.
I hear you.
but I guess what we talked about, and I think what you've tried to convey, Rick, on this show and through some of your other media outlets, is one of the reasons wind is becoming more realistic because the cost of energy is going to go up. And that's not a scenario we like to talk about, but I'd like you to address that a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's coming in the backside. Our costs are increasing. On the flip side of that, though, we're a long ways away from making wind equal to coal generation. That spread's still out there a long ways, and even wind and nuclear is still a pretty good spread. Mark could probably talk better on that, but if we're talking about some of that legislation that we've talked about the last couple of weeks, then things start to look a little bit different. Now, the flip side is you still need a balanced portfolio in order to serve the customer. Wind isn't going to fix that scenario that we talked about last week in carbon cap and trade and carbon tax or whatever the EPA does. But it does become more of a viable option once those other increases start happening. Mark, you got anything to add?
From a generation perspective, from MPPD's generation, coal, we generate about 55 to 60% of our energy from coal, and about 25 to 30% from nuclear. Then we kick in hydro power, some wind power, off purchases from WAPA through their hydro system. So the majority of our energy right now is produced by coal and nuclear. One thing is these are base load. They're available 24 hours a day. And I think that's what you and other people across the state of Nebraska, across the country, they're always looking to make sure that the light switch goes on. And that's what base load is important for.
Yeah, we've talked about base load several times on this program, so hopefully people know that there's a certain amount that's just it's got to run in order to have power here, and so wind fits into that mix as a fuel diversity, but
it's just part of the hopefully the solution.
Yeah.